Welcome to Anecdotes for Success with Matt and Paul. Storytelling is an art form, emphasizing the value and learning that is created through personal experience. Our purpose is to share these stories and experiences with the listener. Everyone has a powerful testimony. Let's use them to level up to our best life with truth, meaning, trade-offs, and perspective.
Well, we were doing it again. We
You'd
just
think
spoke.
you'd
We
think
just
after
spoke.
all this time, Paul, we'd know better, wouldn't you?
I mean, we could always cut it out. We spoke for 15 minutes, and I'm like, crap, we haven't hit record yet. So, because it was getting too good, it was
Yeah.
getting too good. And anyways, I was just listening to a podcast. That's what made me say we got to hit record, where somebody says happiness comes when people understand certainty. So when something's uncertain, that's when the anxiety comes and the lack of happiness. So when you think you have things figured out, you're happy. But it's not lasting. We know that. So when I was just talking about how well I taught for this year and now I'm waiting for a pension to get out, that type of thing, and you took a different route, nobody knows at the time. But the point is to think you're just going to be stagnant and have this linear plan is absolutely ridiculous if you want to grow. It's going to be scrambled all over the place,
You know, you
and you
just
just
said
have to pursue it.
you just said something so key there. If you want to grow, because there are plenty of people who would argue, "Oh no, mine was, mine was pretty, you know, linear and tick up, following inflation or slightly above, and in 30 years." The if you want to grow thing is, do anyone listening, do not miss that part. That's the key part of what Paul just said. Paul, back up real quick. You said you were just you heard a podcast. They were talking about that predictability, right? And I'm not sure
Yeah.
if that's a word you use, but that's a word I use. Uh, it's it's so true. And I heard. I've been listening to so many books on tape, right, or so many
Yeah.
audibles, Paul. I think I've listened. I think I'm almost done with my third this week. I've been um, listening to all sorts of things lately, and including the one that I never read before, listened that you've been talking about for years that I finally just did. The monkey one.
What is that?
I want to say who moved my monkey, but I'm not
No,
combining
no,
who moved
I'm
my
looking. I want to give that to my administrators, and I'm sorry if I say that on air because it's just ridiculous. While I'm looking, have you ever shifting the monkey?
shifting. Thank you. I always forget the shifting. So
It's
good. Paul, I
yeah.
can't believe it took me this long to read it. It's
Do you?
so it's so apropos for anything, but and certainly in my business, I was like, oh my God, I got to have my leaders read this. I cannot believe I hadn't read it before. You've mentioned it a dozen times. I finally saw it on my playlist or on the recommended. I'm like, oh, Paul talks about this. I got to do it. Holy cow, I went through it like that.
So it's by Todd Whitaker, and how about it? He was an educator and wrote that book, and
Is
it
that right? I didn't.
applies.
I didn't. I
It
guess I missed
applies
that.
so administrator applies so out of the
Okay.
business world about holding people accountable and not having other people put their ill will and lack of effort on you. It's
Yeah.
like gaslighting in the business world.
Yeah, right. And it's, I started listening to it. I'm like, this is all so, it just so it hits home in not just
I'm
what
sh-
I do now, but all throughout my business career, let's say. I
I
could,
thought of you more than ever. I mean, it's limited with classroom and education what I do, but when you're dealing as a business leader, everybody should that book should be in college for
it should be. That was such a good book. But I'm off topic again. What I originally wanted to say, that lack of certainty, if you will, that in the discomfort it creates is so. I've experienced that as a business owner where, you're growing, things are going great, sales are up, trending up, you're all the things that you want, all the things you're working for. And then you hit a tough economic time, right? I've had that in my industries. I've had that in my industries more than once. Not just industry I'm in now per se, but in when I was in sports and entertainment and And it's that lack of certainty, it's that unknown, that concern of the unknown. There's an unknown. It's like exciting, like, oh, what's tomorrow going to bring? Everything's going great. It's going to be exciting. And then there's the unknown of business is down. Where's the revenue coming from? That all when we went through COVID, it's so funny. I talk to people their different experience with COVID. There's certain people that I know who during COVID it was wonderful for them because they had their job. They weren't going to lose their job. They were told, I still have my. You're fine. You're fine. You're still going to get paid." Well, it was a vacation in many ways, not in all ways. Don't
Right.
misunderstand. But it was a vacation. The
It
unknown.
was it was for me. It was
Okay,
for me
the
as an
unknown
educator.
of where is my how am I going to pay my mortgage? How am I going to pay for my groceries? Do I have insurance for my family? That was not a concern at all for certain people. For other people who depended on a marketplace to sell their goods and services in order to eat, in order to pay their mortgage, in order to not go bankrupt, people like myself, it was a whole different ball game, Paul. It was a whole different ball game. It was holy cow. Now, due to certain government programs that get instituted and just how things kind of came back and essential. I was part of Essential and some of those kinds of things and um and a guy who complains about government a lot, which I'm known to do. There was a lot of good things that were necessary, I would argue, and things that weren't maybe, and that could go on. That could be 12 podcasts. But the point is, until some of those things came into play, there was a level of anxiety because of the unknown that was palpable, to put it mildly. So I just you mentioned that, and I just didn't want to skim past it because that unknown, that is where the angst comes from, and that can certainly put people in a mindset where there is no opportunity to move forward because all you're doing is fighting to survive today.
No, this is a great start. So the topic I want to talk about was basically, who are you working for, right? What are you working towards, and who are you working for? I
Mm,
dealing with high school kids, so often their decisions are based on what other people might think.
mm,
Okay.
mm.
And when my girls were growing up in the travel softball world, we lost and gained friends based on what decisions we made as a family. But the crust of everything we did is, well, I'm working and I'm growing for the best interest of my family, not for
Hmm.
other people. And I think anxiety, again, I'm no psychologist or expert, but I think there's a real growth anxiety, timeline anxiety, societal anxiety to do what you think fits you into society, or doing what you think makes you happy. And at the end of the day, once you're gone, no one cares about you anyways. Not to be too, bleak with that. So I want your thoughts on, like, who are you doing this for? Do you think about what other people think about you? Do you have any anxiety worrying if you're saying or doing the right things in society? I know that's super vague, but does any of that make sense?
Makes perfect sense. In fact, I was talking to a young man just recently, and he was mentioning he didn't know he was doing it, I don't think, but all the reasons he couldn't or shouldn't or wouldn't do what the things he was telling me. One of my first questions was, "Why do you want to do this? Like, really, why? Why?" And as he was answering that question, he kept coming back to a certain friend and an issue with what his parents might think, what it was, all these outside things that you're referring to. And I kept trying to bring them back to, no, what are you really doing this for? And yeah, I gave him some examples, and one was like, I don't. You might say because you want to make money, but that's not the issue. That remember, money's just a tool. What's that money? What do you want the money for? And do you even want the money?
Right.
Is there a bigger, more important issue, which there almost always is, um, that goes well beyond that. So your point, all these Paul, all these roadblocks he had in his mind, there were all these outside forces, all these people who I don't want to say they didn't matter. Of course, your parents matter. Of course, your friendships and relationships matter. But to what degree, right? And is it worth it letting those things hang over your head? I was telling him, and I'll tell you, one of the I guess the one advantage, I hate the word privilege. I always say that, and I do because I think it just gets abused. It gets abused to manipulate people. That's why I don't like it. Um, but the one thing that I say that I had a privilege of is I had parents, my mother and father, they just always somehow they ingrained in me. I don't know how they did it, that I didn't have to care what anybody else thought or thinks. And I never really have. And that was a superpower that gave me, and by not caring what they think, you know this, but people take things like that and they try to manipulate it. It doesn't mean I go and try to hurt people's feelings or it gives me a freedom to take advantage of people because I don't care what they think. It just means I don't think about what you think of me. I don't worry that you might think that I don't have the right brand sneakers on, or I don't drive the right car, or the decisions I make for my family you don't agree with, or what. It doesn't even dawn on me to consider that. I don't. Now, if people were to bring it up, I guess I would go, oh, and then I'd forget it, Paul, as quickly as it came. I don't. I don't know where that came from. I think it's my parents instilled in me that I had to worry about what was best for me, and they taught me when I failed because they made it very clear I would. Um, maybe I misinterpreted that. Maybe they're like, "Oh, this guy's doomed for failure. We better prepare him." But no, they made it clear, like, "Hey, you're gonna so get back up and get back to work," kind of thing. I just never cared, Paul, and it's been a superpower my entire life. I don't care what people think about me, and I try to instill that into my children.
Well, again, you can listen to people and not have to care what they think,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
It's an awareness. You'd be nuts to not listen to customers or to not listen to family members or but it doesn't mean you have to care about it. And their thoughts are
Well said.
their thoughts are valid to them and
Yeah.
100% in their world and perspective, but I don't have to value anybody else's thoughts. And I think that's where that's the crust of the matter. So have you ever, here's another book recommendation, Stephen Pressfield, the War of Art.
I have it in my thing.
Yeah.
I have about I think six or eight in my
Yeah.
that I have in that one. You must have given it to me, Paul, because I've had it in there for months.
I've listened to it 3 times because occasionally what I do now is I'm on walks and I don't have any new titles per se that hit me, and I go back to some of the gems. And it's like watching your favorite movie. Like you hear different things, but he talks about like this universal force called the resistance. And if you don't stay on your game and if you don't stay disciplined and work hard in any aspect, whether it's planning vacations or going back to school or forming a business, the resistance is going to win. But that resistance is what makes you grow if you're constantly fighting against it. It'd be like rowing against the current, he's saying.
Paul, I think that it's in my queue. I will listen to it soon because it's very apropos. I feel that I know that throughout my life, and I would say within the last year, I've had a similar moment or again realization reminder that when I stop putting in the work and the discipline every single day, that doesn't mean I don't take vacation with my family or
Right.
or take a weekend off or whatever, but do it day in and day out consistently. I get punched in the face so fast. Well, maybe not even so fast. Sometimes it's later, but the later it is, the harder it hurts, right? There is no way around it. There is no way around it. And the more I've accomplished and the more, let's say, times I've gotten, cocky is probably the wrong word, but like, okay, I got it figured out. It's all under control. boy, do I get hit by the resistance. I guess I got to read the book to make sure I'm understanding it properly. But there's just no way around it. And what a wonderful thing. But like this idea that anyone has a free ride, that anyone's got it figured out and it's all smooth. I mean, maybe there are some people out there who I don't know. I even doubt that. I know plenty of people who've inherited money, who've on the surface have everything given to them, and boy, do they have some demons underneath that I would
Yeah.
never ever want to deal with. So I don't think anyone gets away with anything in life. I don't believe it. And I've had that happen recently, Paul, where again I got distracted, let's call it, and focused in some other areas. And I had my reasons. And I'm not even saying it was wrong. What I am saying is I still pay a price.
Right. No. And what is it? They always say the Marines are special because they run towards the fire.
Mm.
You
Yeah,
know,
yeah,
and now I'm not trying to compare my softball team to Marines, but when our we had a ton of comeback wins and grit, you know, and nothing phased them because when things got tough, I'm like, remember right now, the best way to handle pressure is to apply it back and to push back. And
yeah,
it's the same thing with the resistance or anything in life. And I think the concept of anxiety, again, not being a mental health expert or a
yeah,
psychologist, comes when you give in to the toughness of a situation and you feel there's no hope. You can always attack it. It doesn't mean you're going to get the outcome you want, but at least I can control how I'm going to handle the outcome. So that, you know, again, what is it? Diamonds are made by pressure, right?
yeah. Time and pressure, right? Yeah,
Yeah. So when pressure's the best teams, business leaders, people, when they're feeling pressure, they apply it right back. You apply it right back. I mean, it's probably the same way in martial arts. Like you let people attack you, and then you absorb it and push back. And
do
I
you think, Paul, that your players individually as they move on in life take those lessons from a game
yeah.
and use those in their careers and their family lives in these ways do you know what because that isn't that the thing we say it's like
Yeah.
these experiences blah blah I mean what's your thoughts on what happens in the future with that.
Well, I hope so. I mean, it was my third year, so you could argue the first year or two, you're already absorbing people in the system that I talked to. So I think they've bought in, but not everybody, you know. And this was like the first year where not only do I have people I've had for 3 years, I have people that don't know any better coming into the system. And
Sure.
we weren't supposed to accomplish what, according to society, we weren't supposed to accomplish what we did. But according to our processes and what we talk about all the day, and I don't mean manifesting it, but we talked about getting to that point every
Yeah.
day in practice because that's the whole point. And then it just becomes kind of like it's going to be our moment, whether it works out or not. And I feel like under times of pressure and resistance, if you have the resolve and belief and you practice it, you have a better chance of achieving it. It doesn't mean you will. Because
Right.
again, the joke is the other team's trying too.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
They may be saying the same thing. I don't
Yeah,
know.
right. Same exact
You know,
verbatim words.
and
But
and one thing we did, one thing I like to do with students and players and leaders is don't worry about them because they're trying. Like everything we do, they're going to try to outflank us or outhit us or outdo us. So we have to be perfect with what we do. And then hopefully that overcomes what they're trying to do. And sadly, if you pursue pressure and resistance and all those things we've just talked about, you usually overcome because most people don't do that.
don't do
They're
it.
too
Right.
worried about the
Right.
result.
You're already putting yourself in a different category if you're just willing to do it, but you need someone to give you the lessons, which is, your role and other people's roles to overcome those things. And it's just I just think it's just such a wonderful teaching tool for life and I'd love to
Well,
I mean I certainly believe these things continue on for people when they've had experience dealing with them.
I think so. Like again, you talk about the lessons. If you're not happy with something I'm doing, then talk to me about it. You're resisting you're resisting my decision. That's okay. And then there comes a point in time we have to respect it and move on.
Yeah, yeah, right, right.
But what I pride myself on is this was the first year. Any issues you have, and again, when you're with somebody 90 days in a row, you're going to have some issues, right? The issues stayed within our dugout and our team. No outsiders, meaning
Mm,
parents or
yeah,
administrators, had to come in. And not that there's not a time or place for that, but if you can't advocate for yourself in 10th, 11th, 12th grade, you're probably not going to advocate for yourself as a freshman or senior in college. And then you're not going to advocate for yourself in the workforce.
yeah, yeah.
And if you can't do that, what's the point?
That, fair enough. And what a great space to be able to advocate for yourself and know that you can do so in an environment where you've got people who you know, one of the things I love about sports, Paul, is it's a meritocracy, and most people are participating in it want to be there. They are they want to be there. They want to be a starter. They want to be a star. They want to contribute, whatever the case may be. And there is because of that, you have a different opportunity to influence them in a positive way going forward versus let's say jobs out there where people go, I don't care. I don't want to be here. I don't care. I'm quiet quitting anyway, or that doesn't happen in most competitive sports environments because you had to work to be there. You have to have some talent or some ability, I'll call it, and in getting ejected from the group or whatever, not participating hurts. It's not something you want. So you're willing to go through some discomfort, pain, things you haven't done before in order to participate and stay there. And that is an opportunity that all too many kids don't get a chance to do.
Let me ask you a question as a business owner. If you have would you rather have the employee that comes to you and says, real good employee, you have employee that's really good, an employee that just shows up and does the bare minimum. Hey, I've loved what you've taught me here. I love your culture, but I'm pursuing other interests. Or would you rather have the other employee just do the bare minimum, but stay with you for 20 years?
Yeah, I've had that happen. I've had people, I've literally kicked people out the door because of opportunities I have. They said,
Right.
"Hey, Matt, I've had this, Matt. I'm really torn. This opportunity X has come my way. I'd really like to do it or whatever, but I don't want to leave. I like where I'm at. I'm comfortable." Normally, when I hear that word, I immediately my ears perk up. You know what I mean? And I go, "Look, you've got to take this opportunity. This is an opportunity. I want what's best for you. Whether people people can poo-poo me when I say stuff like that all the time. I, I do it. I prove it. I want what's best for my people because I know if I do and give what's best for my people, I'll continue to get good people and I'll be better off as well. It's selfish in a way, but it's not, it's not. I've told people, look, you got to go. It's time to go. This is a moment for you, and I need you to pursue it for your best interest. To me, it's a no-brainer.
So follow-up question. 5 years goes by and they want to come back. Would you take them back?
Exactly. That's a,
I mean, I know
it's,
these
I know
answers.
you do. It's the same. It's great. And I've had that happen too, Paul, and, Paul, I've also had people who left at 18 who were kind of like, who at 23, come back and they go, hey, I was an idiot kid. I'm looking, and I go, look, hey, guess what? I was an idiot kid at time in my life too. I still can be. So those things. I mean, there's certain lines in the sand you don't come back from, but those are less common than the other. So, but no, and I stay in touch with people and I check on them and they check on me, and those are the kind of relationships and values, Paul, that are just so priceless. I mean, you have that with
Yeah.
kids
Well,
and
the reason I say that with other sports that are offered to girls now, I have kids leave for whatever reason, pursue
yeah.
other things, and I always say, hey, go get them, and if you ever want to come back, like they're the spot for you. Like I don't I don't understand why no one should ever talk you. No one should ever be mad at a decision you make because it's your life.
Yeah, right.
And those decisions, whether they're right or wrong, are going to bring perspective to future decisions. So if you just always go with the flow, that's why I said, who are you doing this for?
Yeah.
If you're always doing it for other people, you're not going to have any perspective on what you actually want.
Mm,
And it's going to yield more anxiety over happiness. Like
mm.
it's all tied together.
Yeah. Perfect. Perfect.
So I think we wrapped it up pretty good. And
Yeah, that was good. That was good.
can't quite remember how we started this thing, but
Can
here
we
we are.
ever? Can we ever?
No, I'm glad we're doing this again. Hey,
Yeah,
thank
me
you,
too.
Matt.
All right. Thank you.